So here we go. We see F91, Orange Zerg in the top right, and we have kOs, pretty girl, not looking too pretty thus far, in green Terran in the bottom right.
Already these positions are weird because if you think about the way that Harmony's formed, there's those third gas expansions that line the outside edge of the map. And right now, if kOs moves directly north, he will first hit his natural, but then he'll hit the ramp leading up to one of those third gas expansions. And in general, Terran should be comfortable expanding along the direction he's going to be pushing. However, on this map, F91 is going to be able to hit that expansion from his own base. So right now, kOs doesn't really have the easiest choice of where he's going to be expanding for his third base. So what a lot of Terran players do in this circumstance, instead of taking the bottom natural, the bottom third gas, they will kill off this temple at the left side of his base, and then mine minerals from the backside and kind of turn it into a mineral-only expansion. And as a result, I'm really interested to see how kOs is going to be expanding and setting up his third base, whether he's going to be a little bit more safe, or whether he's going to go straight out aggressive and just start pushing directly towards F91. F91, on the other hand, has his third expansion at the top of the map, facing his main, so that's already a nice convenient place to throw down his third base.
Yeah, that's a very key thing to point out, especially pushing along the direction. I really think a lot of people miss that, and that's something Terran should feel comfortable with. Another thing to mention, if we look at the natural of F91, his kind of side door entrance is facing to the left. If we imagine the situation reversed, where kOs was at the top right and F91 was at the bottom right, well, we can see the side door goes directly into kOs's natural, and well, that would really suck for F91. So that's going to be a big relief for him, especially if kOs opens with mech or some sort of two-factory or any build involving tanks, really.
Yeah, and definitely because F91 has that, the side door, as we call it, facing along his direction of attack, that might be a little bit more obnoxious for kOs to deal with. Either way, I suppose it's probably good to start talking about what the players are actually doing instead of all this high-level theory and stuff. We do again see that kOs did get the refinery just a little bit before the barracks, so we can get the factory a little earlier. This seems to be a growing trend in Terran vs. Zerg for Terran players to be getting a factory and doing gas one-base play just way more often than we see Medic Marine. We do see F91 playing a little bit. It looks like he's playing normally, but he's already done a little bit kooky stuff. He did 12 hatch at his expansion, and then he made 2 drones, and then he made a pool. And now he's making a 3rd hatch, so it's like standard-ish. Most players will be going 12 hatch, 11 pool, 13 hatch, and that sort of thing, but F91, always the surprising player to watch.
Yeah, it seems like he does whatever he wants and somehow it just works. So I'm surprised he's not making a gas before 16. This is going to be the first time we see F91. Oh, he might lose a drone. No, he pulls it back just in time. Now he's going to have to run around. Oh, no, it gets taken out by that SCV. That's heartbreaking, but he's got 3 hatches, so he should be fine. But finally we see that he doesn't have a lot of Zerglings out, and he doesn't have full scouting of this factory. So for once, maybe this Vulture will do... Oh, it looks like the Vulture's actually not going to do. F9 not going to do well. We see F91 playing safe, putting down that Sun Colony. He's got the 3rd hatch blocking. So the Vulture's going to be ineffective. Oh, 2-port wraith. We see 2 starports coming up. So F91, for once, playing blind. Let's see if his sense of star is going to pay off here.
Yeah, this game, oh my god, I hate playing against 2-port wraith as a Zerg player. I used to play tons of games against Froz, and he loved going 2-port wraith, and every time we played, it was just like the most awful thing that has ever happened in America, trying to deal with that many wraiths with cloaking, sniping in and out. And on top of that, F91's build was like, even describing it just feels uncomfortable for me. You know, like hatch on 12, make 2 drones and then a pool, and then another hatch, and then a sunken, and more drones, and then an overlord, and then a gas. I mean, that's like the latest gas that anyone has ever seen ever. And right now, F91's sitting on 500 minerals with 2 wraiths coming right at him, and no anti-air to boot.
Yeah, exactly. And he's got no gas, now making 2 geysers, and what... He looks like he's trying to fix his drones. They're taking a bit of a weird pattern into this 3rd hatch. Oh, that's really unfortunate. Look, common sense drones can tell you that you should go to the natural hatchery, but looks like they're not agreeing with that. Somehow, I guess to react to the Vulture, he's decided that Wraith might be coming, and he's putting down the Hydra Den before going Lair. That is some great star sense if he's figured out that Wraith is the follow-up, and that's really going to affect kOs's play.
In general, too, I think it's an excellent counter if you see your opponent going fast gas to go straight for the Hydralisk Den, because any option that the Terran player does have can be countered fairly easily by getting early speed Hydras. So we do see this first Wraith coming in, taking out an Overlord. We see an Evo Chamber going down just to make sure nothing too pesky happens. And 2 Overlords going down. Here comes a 3rd Overlord. Oh, actually, just clicking on the Wraiths, I note that there are 4 Overlord kills. Here's going to come a 5th. And it looks like F91 might be living on just like 2 food for a little bit, which is a little bit difficult to deal with. And then we see those drones being all nutty again and mining the long path. But of course, knowing F91, I wouldn't be surprised if he just told his drones to do that, just to be a unique snowflake in the StarCraft community.
The thing here is, despite F91 losing so many Overlords, the expansion for kOs, if he does decide to go for an expansion build, is going to be so late that I like putting down this Spore Colony. You can kind of take your time, slowly build up your tech, and then look to attack on the natural, and I really like that style. Looks like Cloaking is coming from kOs, and he's not letting up on Wraith, still making 2 more Wraith, and he's got another Barracks coming. I don't really know if I like this follow-up. It could be susceptible to just pure Hydra, but we're going to have to see what happens.
Yeah, I don't mind this follow-up so much from kOs. Really, if you, we've seen Leda do this sort of play a lot when he goes 1 base and then does his 2-port Wraith. It takes a really long time to expand, and rather than do anything ultra powery, he just stays really low econ, gets a whole bunch of barracks, and tries to like keep the pressure to the max. And it's really kind of funny because I was joking earlier that F91 had so many minerals, but he was able to use that for Spore, and look at this, now he's able to take all his Hydros and do a counterattack. The bunker does finish in time, so I'd imagine that would be enough to repel F91 for the time being, and when that Cloaking gets finished, considering that the layer has just started, I wouldn't be surprised if kOs just cloaked and followed those Hydralisks all the way back home to kill him off. But yeah, it's kind of funny that this really low gas opening from F91 paid off, and oh, the Wraiths fly right over the Hydralisks, cloak, but they don't attack. They're going to be rushing right back to see if there's any weak points. I don't know if kOs is aware of how many Spore Colonies are sitting in F91's bases.
Yeah, and even if the Spore doesn't cover the main, as we see here, he still can put an Overlord over that Spore and use the Hydralisk to scout. So a bit of a missed opportunity there. kOs would have done better to attack those Hydralisks, but I guess he just wanted to go in and check for any weaknesses there. 2nd barracks finished, 3rd barracks starting, add-on coming for the factory. So it looks like he's going to try to finish this, taking a lot of hits here. Wow, get out of there, Wraith. Now they're trying to snipe, but those Hydralisks look like they have Hydralisk range, so they're able to easily deal with those Wraith. Lurker's now coming from F91, and I think this Wraith opening should have stopped after about 2 or 3 Wraith. That's when the damage was mostly done. And now, what do you think about this 3 factory tank follow-up? I really don't like it, and I really don't think it's going to be able to finish F91 here.
It's kind of a weird situation to be in a lot of times. You see your opponent go for a Hydralisk opening. A lot of times I think it's more beneficial to get the add-on immediately and start getting tanks, because then you end up trying to get your expansion up a little more quickly and to have 4 or 5 tanks and a handful of Medic Marine, as opposed to what kOs is doing, which is to get a whole bunch of Medic Marine followed up by tanks. What kOs is doing would be fantastic if F91 was going for some sort of Mutalisk-based opening. That is exactly what you want to be doing against a Mutalisking player, because it's really hard for the Mutalisking player to do some sort of counter push. We do see F91 adding on a 4th barracks now, trying to do a little bit of magic with these Wraiths, but it's just not going to happen. The positioning is far too good from F91, and already it looks like Lurkers are about to finish, and this positioning is just beautiful by F91.
Yeah, and with the Overlord speed 50% done, I think kOs is going to have a lot of trouble against this Hydra Lurker army. And kOs has kind of shown that he's lost a bit of his Korean magic, I guess, if you will, because if he wanted to go 4 barracks, he should have cut everything and made 4 barracks. He's built each one of these barracks one at a time. This 2nd barracks game, then the 3rd, then the 4th. That's not the proper way it should be done. We see 1 tank out. 2nd tank is about to come out now, and Wraith are still just trying to poke around looking for any sort of damage, and a lot of Hydras are coming down with a few Lurkers to supplement them. The Wraith just fly right over there, the Hydralisk killing each other in a bit of a dispute, I suppose. And here comes, oh, a lot of Wraith getting taken out there. Wow, only 2 Wraith remaining. And here comes the big attack from F91.
Yes, 79 food for both players right now, and this push is absolutely monstrous. kOs is gonna, or kOs is gonna have to do some unbelievable micro if he wants to hold this off. One Lurker falls, a second Lurker goes down, but there's just too many Hydralisks. They're just surrounding this Medic Marine, these tanks, and just ripping them apart. The Lurker is all the way in the back, not even part of the fight, but it doesn't even matter. +1 armor, and GG, wow. Very impressive timing push by F91. He had that build nailed down. His opponent went 2-port Wraith, which is normally obnoxious, harass-intensive play to deal with. However, F91 stayed calm, got a bunch of Hydras and Spores, and then totally took control of the game. There was virtually nothing those Wraiths could do. And considering Wraiths are so weak against Hydralisks, it was almost like kOs just had a whole bunch of wasted minerals.
Yeah, for sure. F91 seems to... he's a hard guy to analyze, but it seems like he makes mistakes in that his build isn't fine-tuned. So he's wasting a lot of potential, wasting a lot of time in the early game, but what he makes it up for is with his good star sense. Imagine that game had he gone 12, 11, 13, 16, the standard 3-hatch build, and gone into Mutalisk. When then these Wraiths showed up, it probably would have done way, way, way more damage than if he already had that Hydralisk den and was a little less willing to put the Evo chamber down. So we can see, although yes, he did end up with 500 minerals, and his early game doesn't look very fine-tuned, he completely made up for that and more by just predicting, oh, Wraith are coming, I'll put down a Hydra den. And then beautiful follow-up, he doesn't try to transition into something like Mutas, he just goes straight into Hydra Lurker and just finishes the game immediately. I really like his play in that game.
That's a good thing to point out. I think it's a sort of mistake to be getting 16 gas, to be getting a really early gas against a player who's going 1 racks to fast refinery. Because when a player is going 1 racks to fast refinery, he is going to be doing the aggressive type plays. And if you're going for a sort of 16 gas build as a Zerg player, you're looking to harass your opponent. The problem is the Mutalisk harass just isn't really effective against any sort of fast option, unless you're Jaedong, that is. But for the most part, it's not really that effective. Players are going to be going Valkyries, 2-port Wraith, they're going to be going Goliaths, and Mutalisk harass gets shut down by all those options. I think it's a much better choice to delay the gas and to rely on Hydralisks early on to hold off any sort of aggressive play, so that way you can let your economy remain stable throughout the early game, because a lot of fast gas players want to screw with you early.
Yeah, I have nothing to add. I completely agree with everything you just said there. So,
bam.
A 3-1 monstrous lead, or excuse me, 3-0. I don't know where the 1 came from. I haven't seen these replays. Do not worry. A 3-0 lead here for F91. Game 4 in Coliseum. This is a map where we actually would expect to see mech. So, I mean, do you think we're gonna see it, or do you think kOs is going to revert to something maybe a little more all-in, given that, he's tried 3 times and he's barely lasted 10 minutes in each of them?
I think this is a really uncomfortable map to try to all-in on as Terran. Zerg have a little bit more of an edge doing all-in style plays because there's that cute little sunken colony outside every choke. But I mean, especially considering kOs has gone mech in the first 3 games, I wouldn't be surprised if he continued on that theme, especially because this map, it's just very nice to go mech, because you do in fact have a very easily accessible 3rd gas expansion. And honestly, as Zerg against Terran on this map, I don't exactly have too much experience. For the most part, though, I do think that if kOs just plays really solid, tries not to do too much harassment, I think that he will be able to secure his first win in this series. But again, F91, a vicious player, really good at abusing terrain. Just really interested to see how he's going to play it off. Whether he's even going to do any all-in or, again, standard play like we saw last game, or just something nutty that he's pulling out of his own bag of tricks.
Yeah, we've seen kOs try 3 times cuteness and 3 times it's failed. So I'd really like to see him go 1 barracks, get a Marine or 2, expand, and then move into standard mech. I'm not liking his kind of vulture run by, although great in theory, it's not working out this time. So I'm really hoping for standard play, and F91, who knows, I might as well just roll a die and see what happens with him. So with that, let's move on to Game 4. This is going to be on Coliseum. Let's do it.